Dick Scratcher says, she just wants Starmer's job. Jim Higman says, Mahmood has no intention of stopping migration. She wants to increase immigration. Harry Lime says, Reform would have done better keeping quiet today after these new revelations about Farage. He can't just keep denying what countless witnesses have now said. Lion of Albion says there is something fishy about all these so-called emails. It sounds more like Epstein had a crush on Trump and was obsessed with him. None of them amounts to a smoking gun, more like a smoked haddock. Welcome to the Daily Expresso. I'm JJ, and today, making her Expresso debut is Assistant News Editor Mieka Smiles.
Yay, can I clap for myself?
Yeah, you can clap for yourself. There's no one else in the room. So, yeah, you can clap. Mieka, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Are you nervous?
I am feeling a little bit nervous.
You are a Tory councillor?
I am.
As well as a columnist for us and an Assistant News Editor.
Yeah,
a lot of hats.
correct.
And you're a mum?
And I'm a mother too.
Yeah, busy.
Very busy. Very busy.
All right, well, look, it's Friday, which means it's time for you to espresso yourself. So the inbox is full to the brim, as always, and we've got questions and comments from viewers and listeners literally all over the globe. USA, Asia, Australasia, everywhere. Right, the first one. Anna Sutor says, I love listening to your banter. JJ, you've redeemed yourself in my eyes after listening to spouting nonsense on Talk regarding the dastardly duo. Okay, well, thanks, I guess. And I think this comment actually from Anne Sutor was put on a video of me and Carol. We have a lot of banter. Generally, I just tell Carol how old she is and how decrepit she is, and she threatens to attack me. And I used to talk nonsense, apparently, on my days on Talk TV. Well, thanks. Thanks, Anne. Bond Appetite says, this is my favourite political channel with JJ. Lovely.
That's good, isn't
Lovely.
it?
That's good. It's good. USA 50, I'm guessing you're from America, says, thanks for this channel. American citizens side with patriotic Brits standing up for their culture. Good. I feel like we should have an American flag. We should have flags in the studio.
Yes.
Make it like the UN. Everyone,
think
every time we get a
so.
comment from someone from a different country, their flag gets raised behind
Love
us.
it.
Stephen Rowe says, blimey, here I am watching JJ, and then he mentions me when I said, JJ, you the best. Well, you are, and I love watching you all the way from Australia. P.S. I'm originally a Tottenham boy. Fantastic. The best team in the world, Tottenham Hotspurs. Right, I think that's enough fangirling over myself. My ego is adequately pumped up. So let's get stuck into the main talking points that you've been chatting about. Now, it's been a week dominated by Shabana Mahmood and her dramatic policy shift as she promised a mega clampdown on migrants. She's shaken off Labour's Mr. Nice Guy image, and people are split on whether this is a bold new shift for the party or is it their biggest ever identity crisis. So, gosh, Mieka, sometimes people write in their comments and they send us their questions and they have very rude names.
Okay.
So this one is called Dick Scratcher.
Crikey.
Dick Scratcher says, she just wants Starmer's job. Okay, fair. Jim Higman says, Mahmood has no intention of stopping migration. She wants to increase immigration. By saying she wants to stop illegal migration, she deflects us to think that she's doing something, but the real problem is legal migration, which is 90% of the problem. She intends to let them in unhindered, and thus thousands more will come in. Fair point, I guess. We'll come back to that in a moment. Chris Green says, look how gullible the public are. It's scary. Mahmood is hoodwinking you all. And finally, Pete Blondell says, Starmer, Rayner, Reeves, Cooper, Lammy, Mahmood, how much lower can we sink? This gang of morons are out to destroy the UK. Meeks, what do you think of Shabana Mahmood?
I think she's done some tough talking, hasn't she, this week? But obviously, I mean, how long is it since they were elected? Is it like getting on 13, 14 months now?
Not a long time.
No. Well, I feel like it's too little too late, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
it's belated. I think they've realised that there has to be something done. The issue's actually gotten worse since they've come into power. And I think anybody that says that, you know, this doesn't impact our country is crackers. You know, I'm from Middlesbrough. I'm a councillor in Middlesbrough, and I see firsthand the impact this has.
What impact is it having in Middlesbrough?
Well, Middlesbrough's got one of the highest rates of asylum seekers in the whole of the country.
Okay.
I think that's per head. And it's the impact on public services. Our council has actually got a team of people dedicated to settling in kind of new arrivals. It impacts communities. That's because a lot are housed in Middlesbrough because the housing's obviously a lot cheaper there. And there's a lot of churn, so people moving in and moving out, and that obviously impacts on the whole of the town. I could go on. We've got some schools in Middlesbrough where there's kids speaking 30 different languages,
wow.
which is crazy. Teachers are having to try and teach these children in that kind of classrooms. Just it's crazy. So it does impact people in the UK, and people who say it doesn't, it does. I think what she's saying is good in essence. Obviously, I think we chatted before, it was like a Denmark model kind of thing. And I think they've obviously had success with some of the things that she's suggested. But I still have questions around, like, there's these reviews. Who's going to do the reviews?
What reviews?
She's saying that when people come over to the country, rather than them getting, asylum seeker status, it's going to be reviewed every 30 months or something like that. Like, what does that actually mean? Who's going to be doing the reviews?
Okay.
Like one of the readers said, there's apparently going to be more legal routes. Will that just actually increase the issue?
Well, I would suggest if there's more legal routes, this should technically make it easier to deport people who come illegally. Like I've always said from the beginning, if we had a processing centre in France, and if you want to come to England, you can't come unless you go through this one in France, and we're going to have one in Turkey and one in Libya. Great. Those are 3 ports of call. You go to one of those ones. If they process you and they say, no, you can't come across, then you don't come across. And if you do come across, you're put on a plane straight back to one of our processing centres, and you make your way home from there. So I think that might help in the long run.
Okay. I think that's a fair point. I think there was something else that I'd read about increasing the amount of money that people are given to possibly voluntarily go home. I think we need more detail around that. I don't want to see people given massive amounts of money. Could that actually mean that people are coming over to get money to then go home?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would hope there'd be safeguards in place for that.
Yeah, because the Ethiopian guy who had escaped, didn't escape. He was let out of prison.
Yeah.
The one who was let out of prison wrongly, and then he tried to go back into prison. They said no.
Yeah.
They deported him. They gave him
500
quid, which in Ethiopia was equivalent to more than a year's salary. Yeah. So, that would seem like an incentive for people to come get more than a year's salary and then go back home.
Yeah, he'd be laughing. He got his pocket money, didn't he?
Yeah, he got his pocket money after having his belly filled in prison for a few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the final thing, I think there's going to be loads of stuff, like loads of elements to this. The other thing that I read was about the human rights stuff, about how she was going to, instruct lawyers to interpret it in particular ways. Can she even do that? I'm not sure. Like, will the lawyers just interpret it how they want, which is what they have been doing? I think we need to leave the ECHR. I think that's the issue, and I think really that's what she should be pushing for, but she's obviously not.
It's funny, all of you Tories I speak to say the same thing. We had Estimate Vey on yesterday's episode, and she was saying the same thing. We've got to leave the ECHR. If we don't leave the ECHR, nothing can happen.
Yeah.
Is this just part of your Tory manifesto, is it?
No, there's not like a Tory training camp, unfortunately. I wish there was, actually. But no, I think that obviously experts have looked at this in some detail. Kemi, I think she frustrated some people initially because she didn't say, we've got to do it, She said, I want to look into this, whether it's the right thing and what have you. And then she came out, I think it was at the conference, and said, it is, we can do it. And I think that they've looked at every which way of solving this problem, and it always comes down to this ECHR issue. So I think it's right that we now do it.
Whilst I think it's right for them to also look at Denmark and say this is a success story, but Denmark is a much smaller population.
Okay.
They don't have the same level of integration that we have here. So there's things, there's two main things I would say, being with my grandma being Danish, is that one thing is this thing they call parallel societies. They used to call it ghetto societies. They changed it to be politically correct to parallel societies, which is if you've got an area of a town, say Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
you've got a part of Middlesbrough where, in this area now, there's increased levels of crime, there's increased levels of poverty, or there's more than 50% of people living there who are not Westerners, basically. They will have them dispersed across to other parts of Middlesbrough.
I think
So
right.
it forces integration. Yeah, so that's one of the things. We're not going to be able to do that here. There's plenty of areas across the UK where there's, this area is 90% Jewish.
Yeah.
This area is 85% Muslim. This area is 60% Hindu or whatever. It's now going to be too difficult to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's another part of Danish culture called the law of Jante, which is like old philosophical thing. It's not written down on paper as a thing that really exists, but there's 10 principles essentially of Scandinavia. You're not better than anyone else. You are not smarter than people. You cannot laugh at us. You cannot teach us anything. It makes everyone think the same and have like this humble attitude of, I'm not going to change anything. I'll buy the car that my neighbour buys. My house will have the same philosophy of Hugo that everyone else's house has. In this country, there's too much individuality. We're never going to be able to have the cultural stability that Denmark has because they've been controlling that for decades, whereas the UK, it's far too fragmented now for it to work.
I'm going to have to learn more about Denmark. Sounds great.
Right, let's move on.
Yep.
While the government have been busy trying to kickstart new Labour, Reform have been trying to prove their genuine fiscal credentials by detailing alternative budget plans and showing how they could claw back money for the economy, mainly through taking a chainsaw to our foreign welfare budget. So here's what you lot have been saying about Nigel Farage's party. Rick Vision says, reform, reform, reform. How long do we have to wait? And Wright says, MPs had years to do this. It won't happen. We will never leave ECHR. Law won't change. Reluctantly, I think I shall have to vote reform. Have never voted Labour, and the Tories let us down badly. Run Forest says, vote reform. Not perfect, but better than two wings of the Uniparty. Black and White Pudding says, reform is a party created by failure in the other two parties. FD5903 says, it's just another blah blah. If you think you are genuine, then get behind Farage. Well, I mean, looking at these, there is essentially people saying they're going to vote reform because they've got no other choice, which is different to people saying, I'm voting reform because I think they're the best party. I heard the same kind of rhetoric around Labour at the last general election of people saying, look, I'm going to vote Labour because we've had 14 years of rubbishness from the Tories and there's no other party. Lib Dems, wasted vote. Greens, wasted vote. So I'm going to vote for Starmer because I've got no other choice. And now a lot of people are regretting having voted for Starmer.
Yeah, I mean, what do I think about reform? I don't fall out with a lot of things that reform say. Nigel Farage is a massively successful politician. I think that in terms of what's currently happening with reform, I said it in my column this week, actually, I think the shine's coming off them a little bit, and I think there's a long time until the next election. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between now and then. There was something today around, which actually impressed me from reform. So with the budget coming up, they've actually kind of made some suggestions about what can happen, what Reeves could do to save this, is it 25 billion?
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's right, actually, because we see it as a councillor, we have budgets and there's people that kind of chuck stones from the sidelines, but they don't actually come up with any suggestions themselves.
Okay.
There's been a load of good suggestions from Reform today, a lot of which that I agree with.
Cutting foreign aid?
Yeah, cutting foreign aid. I mean...
So let's bring back any of the weapons and things we're giving to Ukraine. That's part of it, right? It's foreign aid.
Yeah, so I think...
Yeah, well, take
be nuanced.
Take the money back from Ukraine. Let's get the billions sent to them. Let's send back every Ukrainian refugee who's here, because that's foreign aid pays for that as well, and all the other refugees who are coming across the country from everywhere else in the world. We send them all back. That will plug some of the hole.
I think that obviously it's got to be nuanced. You can't just say let's pull the foreign aid budget. Oh. However, what I would say is you could pull a lot of it. There was something in an article I read today where there was money going toward a road in Pakistan, and it's like, what? Why? We've got potholes aplenty in roads here. Why?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just common sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
That we shouldn't be paying for that stuff.
Yeah.
But, for example, if there was a major disaster somewhere on the planet, we'd want to be able to contribute. So you do need to keep some. And I think that's what Reform are saying. I feel like I'm kind of talking up Reform here.
Yeah, a little bit.
No.
As a councillor,
Yeah.
are you sceptical about Reform's ability to run the country?
Hugely.
Okay.
Hugely, because as I suppose, like, as a new party, they're going to have to go through so many different hurdles, and you've seen that with the Reform councillors that have been elected. I think it's in Kent where things have all gone a bit awry. Imagine that on a national scale, you know, like, who's going to be in cabinet? Like, and Reform have got this like weird mix of like people from the right and people from the left. Like, how is that going to play out? It's just, yeah. I suppose, like, as a Conservative, yes, it's a broad church, but we broadly believe in the same things. And I don't think the same can be said for Reform.
Okay. Well, there's been some concern from some of you about the story that came out this week about things that Farage had apparently said when he was a student, some racist things. So Harry Lime says, Reform would have done better keeping quiet today after these new revelations about Farage. He can't just keep denying what countless witnesses have now said. Otherwise, it won't just go away. He needs to apologise for his then comments and make clear that he no longer holds any of those views. Mr. Always Right says, why didn't Farage address his past that's come up to haunt him? Mieka, how do you feel about this? Because, yeah, there's been several now people who've come out on record and said, or when he was 13, he made me feel this way about being Jewish. He was saying these horrible things. Another person came out and said when he was 16. Another one said when he was 17. So these are things that perhaps Farage has done and said. How do you think he should have handled it?
I mean, obviously, we need to make sure that these like verified people, like verified comments that he's made, and are there, aren't there? I don't know. Possibly he does need to address that. If they were from when he was a child.
From 13 up until at least 18, 17 years old.
It's obviously unacceptable. I don't like racism in any format. If these are kind of tales from people 40 odd years ago, I don't know how kind of trustworthy that is. I don't know. Can people be held accountable for things that they've said when they were 13? I mean, my son said some pretty bizarre things to me. He's 14.
Are you saying your son's a racist?
No, no. On separate topics, but obviously your brain is not. You know, I think, God, I would dread to think what I said in an RE class when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, these are when your attitudes are still developing.
Yeah.
And this isn't me defending Farage, by the way.
I'm sure. Listen, I believe you. Even though you've admitted your son's a racist. I believe you.
Not at all. Not at all.
I do, like, again, not to defend Farage, but things that someone said when they were a teenager. There's people who believed things last year about the Labour Party who now this year are saying, total regret. My opinions and views completely changed.
Yeah.
But also the immaturity of a teen, of a child, cannot be held still now as, what is Farage, 60?
God knows. But
he looks older.
Yeah, I think it's possibly he was not a very nice character when he was a child.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think this is just the left desperately trying to unearth things to tarnish him with?
Yeah, I think it's to be expected with anybody that's got a high-profile role. Maybe he's just counting on the fact, like the conversation that we've just had, that people will take it as what it is, that these are comments that he possibly made as a child.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd hate to be at your next council meeting and have people saying, this is the boy. This is Smiles Jr., the racist. Yeah. Here's the footage of his mother on the Daily Expresso. Right,
no, it's more about leaving towels on the bathroom floor.
Sure it is. She's backtracking. All right, let's move on. Hot on everyone's lips this week were the rumblings coming from the Epstein files as Trump's name started cropping up in leaked documents. This came to a head when one reporter pressed him on the issue and he told her, quiet, piggy. Here's what you've been saying about the story. Uberik says it seems Epstein, the control freak, probably couldn't get Trump to do business with him or do anything he could hold over POTUS, hence his nasty criticism. Trump is a millionaire and over decades built an empire he worked hard for. but Epstein used unusual methods to acquire his. That causes inane jealousy. Okay, possibly. Muttley says Epstein was a convicted pedo. It was in his interest to invent stories for leverage and protection, given his associations. Anyone giving credence to Epstein's fantasies can only be because they hate Trump. Lion of Albion says there is something fishy about all these so-called emails. It sounds more like Epstein had a crush on Trump and was obsessed with him. None of them amounts to a smoking gun, more like a smoked haddock. Nice. And XIXIX says the more and more this goes on, the more it becomes apparent that President Trump has done no wrong, and it seems those that oppose President Trump are clutching at straws. This whole escapade has the stench of the BBC written all over it. Now, I don't think the BBC have anything to do with this. XIXIXIXIX. I don't think the BBC are involved at all. But you guys do raise some good questions. What did Epstein have nothing on Trump, and this is why he was trying to create something, trying to fabricate something? Because for Trump to be so solid in saying, "Yep, I've signed the documents. I want them all released."
Yeah.
They've got to be released within 30 days. The Department of Justice have got 30 days to release it. I think this will be more damaging for the left. People like President Clinton. We know Clinton loved the ladies. We know he did. We knew he was friends with Epstein. We had numerous meetings with him. I think it's going to be very damaging for the left side of politics.
Yeah. I think what you've said's right. I think he absolutely had to release those files. Anything other implies guilt. I think, I have read some of the other documents that have been released with Trump's name in. Does it prove anything? I don't think it does.
No.
I think, again, what you've said, it's who else is going to be implicated. Will Andrew be further implicated? Don't know. Who else in public life is going to be kind of dragged into this?
Yeah.
Will be interesting to see. I mean, the whole thing's just a sorry mess, isn't it?
It is. It is. What annoys me is, sorry to generalise, but all the feminists who bleat on about feminism all day, every day, the most modern part of version of feminism, which isn't just about equality, it's about women taking control and power. Epstein did all these horrible things on an island with lots of his rich male mates, 2 young girls, and the only person who's in jail is a woman. All the rich guys, okay, we can mention them. They were friends with him. We can make assumptions, but no man is in jail over anything that happened. And I just think the feminists of the world should be making a much louder scream about this.
Yeah, I think so. Kind of in terms of Prince Andrew, then, because he's been linked with Epstein, and obviously there's allegations which he's denied. There's more stuff that's come out about him and prostitutes. Yep,
thanks to a Daily Express investigation.
I think, he might not, and he probably won't end up in jail. That's probably a bit far-fetched to imagine. But that doesn't mean that he is morally corrupt, and he's going to have to face himself at some point. I think I'm probably quite old-fashioned, that I think that I am aware that men use prostitutes. I am aware of that, but does that mean it's right? I don't think it does.
Yeah, especially if they're underage.
I think it's the whole thing. I think anybody that pays people and treats them like objects, they're not my kind of person. I think the fact that this is going to be kind of made public and those people are going to have to kind of face what they've done, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I always say, I suppose particularly this accounts, this is for anybody, but particularly people who are in public life. If you're not happy with it being on the front page of a newspaper, don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, don't forget, you can watch our world exclusive bombshell interview with royal biographer Andrew Loney. You can watch that anytime you want. It's on our YouTube channel. It's on our playlist. Just look for Daily Expresso. Go through it and you'll find it. And you have to watch it. If you've not watched it already, watch it. You're missing out big time. Before we move on from this topic, quiet piggy. How'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I thought it was awful. Would I call myself a Trump fan? There's occasions where I do think that, he's got the best interests of America in mind. There are times when I've praised him. I just thought that was just mental, to be honest, to treat somebody in that way.
Would you be offended if someone told you to be quiet, piggy?
I'd be furious.
Really?
I'd be absolutely fuming.
What about piglets? Is that better? I once said to Penny Smith, "Quiet piglet." Yeah, and she took it with good, with good grace.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a good look at all.
Do you think it was misogynistic?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I don't think so. He said it to a woman. Okay, it's rude, but I don't think that means that he hates women. I think I've heard Trump say much worse things about men. You know, listen. I thought it was not very presidential, but also it was very entertaining, and that is Trump. That is Trump. If Kemi Badenoch had said when I interviewed her, if Kemi Badenoch said to me, "Quiet piggy," then everyone would have been like, "Oh my goodness, how dare she?" But for Trump, his Overton window is completely different.
It's to be expected.
Yeah, absolutely. God bless him. Right. It is time for the weekly roast. Meeks, what do you want to roast this week?
What am I? Right, so it's something that like...
What am I? Where am I? Who are you? Is this kind of focus we can expect from Tory councillors? Back in the room. Right, weekly roast. Right. You have to moan about something that's been doing your head in recently.
Yeah, so there's lots of things that do my head in.
Okay.
But one that's, am I allowed to say pissing me off? No?
Yeah, you can say that.
Something that pisses me off is the Wi-Fi on the tube. Like, what's going on?
On the London Underground?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't. Okay, well, tell me what's wrong with it first. Before I criticise you, tell me what's wrong with it.
Well, it doesn't work. It's like you got like... It's just bizarre. I just think like you can put men on the moon, but you can't get Wi-Fi on the tube. I don't get it. I mean, think about like the productivity that we could be unleashing by sorting this. Why isn't it sorted?
I think it depends on which tube lines you get on. Because
it should be all of them should have it.
Okay. On the tube lines I get 5G most of the time, as well as Wi-Fi that works.
Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Maybe you are doing it wrong, but can I also just apologise to our loyal audience, because I brought her on thinking she's a proud northerner and she would not be part of this bougie media elite, this Islington set. You're no better than Jeremy Corbyn.
I don't think I've been to Islington.
You are no better than Jeremy Corbyn. I tell you what, I think you're going to come out here and say, you know what I'm sick of? It's grinding my gears this week. The lack of investment in the north. Yeah, I want to make Middlesbrough a northern powerhouse. What's that bridge you always bang on about? You want to fix the big blue one?
The transporter.
The transporter. Yeah, come on here and this is your time to talk about that kind of stuff. Oh. Shed a light on local issues. Instead, you're part of the Westminster elite. You make me sick. You make me sick. Oh. Sorry, Northerners. I guess she doesn't really care about you. Well, we also have a nice little part of this show called Columnist Corner. Basically, it's a shameless plug for whatever you're writing about in your Daily Express column, which I do enjoy reading. So what's next?
Yeah, so I'm working it up. It is going to be about this weird thing. Well, actually, it's not weird for most people because most of us would love a 4-day working week, wouldn't we?
Oh, phew. I thought you were going to say talk about London again.
No. But there was a council, I think it's South Cambridgeshire, where they've introduced a 4-day working week, but on full pay.
Okay, but is productivity increased?
No. It's like things have gone like that.
Really?
Which is understandable.
Because
I would think.
I thought we'd had the practice of it with a certain amount of businesses in the UK, and something like 80% of the bosses said, "Yeah, actually, it's worked out better for us. We're going to keep it going."
Yeah, well,
but not for Cambridge Council.
Apparently not. And Steve Reid, the local government minister? He actually comes across really well, I think. But anyway, he's like stamped his feet about it and sent this stroppy letter to the council saying, come on, sort it out. This is like taxpayers' money and what have you. But then obviously, like the intriguing part of it is that the unions want all public sector workers to have a 4-day week. So that's a bit of a difficult situation there. So that's what my column's about in the main.
Oh, I wonder if you're going to be a supporter of a 4-day week or not. I'll have to wait and see. Mieka Smiles, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah.
Great debut.
Thank you.
Right, that's it for this week. Please keep leaving your thoughts in the comments. And as always, let us know who you want to see on the show. Thank you for watching Daily Expresso. Join us again on Monday where we'll get stuck into the headlines once again. Bye-bye.